Okay. Here we go. I see it on LinkedIn. Yes, it says we are live. Fantastic. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Sudha Jamte, and this is Weekly Wed. Our host, Yash, is out for 2 weeks, so I'm filling in. So I have the pleasure of inviting our guests again today. So we are going to do part 2 of the fun discussion we've been having about AI and law, and we barely scratched the surface. So if you're new, this is streamed on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And select students here are here on Zoom with me other than our guests. So we have Divya Dwivedi, and she's going to be interviewed by Dr. Tiago Felipe. For those of you who've missed last session, Divya is a lawyer from, let me bring her to the view. Divya is a lawyer from the Supreme Court of India and comes from a background where she's already done computer science, and then she kind of straddles our worlds. So it's perfect if you're a lawyer watching this or if you're a technologist watching this, so she can talk to either of us. And to have somebody who's a match, who can ask her the right questions and guide this conversation, we have our friend Dr. Tiago Felipe from Brazil, and he has an exciting announcement to share too. So for those of you, my students who are here on Zoom, I would encourage you to chat your questions and we can call on you. And Tiago, you can watch the chat for questions and then you bring it up at the right time or call on the students. Yeah, that would be better. And the usual drill, if you don't want to be recorded, because this is recorded in stream, if you don't want to be recorded, then you can go offline on Zoom, or don't make yourself visible here. And for those of you who are out on the streaming sessions, we would encourage that you add a comment or question on LinkedIn, because we want to make sure we get your questions answered and keep this as interactive as possible. So I think that's for my announcement. And I have one announcement that you saw from my newsletter, but I want to make sure, because I mentioned this last week. Let me quickly share my screen and then I'm going to pass it on to Tiago. So I was talking about the Global South in AI at NeurIPS, that we got accepted to host a social affinity group or a meetup, and we have a call for paper. NeurIPS is an amazing conference and we are very passionate. So when I say we, I went to globalsouthinai.org, that's the URL. And this is the program chair, the four of us. And Susanna Raj is an AI ethicist who's been guiding us on this call for paper. And Paria Soren is our high school intern, who is program chair with us, who is building out this site and managing the communication. And our host Yash of Weekly Wednesdays here, and she's going to be hosting the first social meetup for Global South in AI once we have the abstract from this call for paper. So what is this call for paper? This is about language AI models. We want diversity in language models, NLP, the newer models like BERT and GPT-3 and everything. There are variations of it built from around the globe by several different groups. So if you're one of them or you know people, just pass it on. globalsouthinai.org. It's not affiliated with Business School of AI or any of my other activities. It is a whole new entity, and we are starting it as a meetup, and we will be at NeurIPS in December. And so here's an opportunity to join us. So you could be working on a model, your group should be working on a model related to AI or language AI in any language, preferably from the Global South, but we want to be as inclusive of everybody as possible. So model could be one area, and the other two tracks are, it could be data, so it could be decolonizing the data so that you could make it more inclusive, or it could be voice AI. So in any of the track, you could submit an abstract. So we launched this, the call for paper is open. We are going to be using open review. So we would have a deadline to register at Open Review. If you do not have a login already, if you publish papers, you would have an account. That's easy to do. And if you click on the call for submission, it will take you to Open Review and you can just create the account. And it takes, I think, 12 hours for them to approve. At least the message shows up and they approve it much sooner. So we recommend doing that as soon as possible if you're thinking of submitting an abstract. And we have an early abstract submission deadline of 31st July. This is completely double blind, which means we have an awesome set of experts who will be reviewing your abstract, but you don't know who they are. Similarly, when you submit, your name and contact and anything is not shown, so they don't know who's making the submission. That's what it's called, double blind. And in 2 weeks, you will get a notification that your abstract is accepted. And there's an option for a late abstract if you find this later or you're still working on it. And then 2 weeks later, you'll find it. And then Yash is going to help us host this Global South in AI meetup online for all the accepted abstract, because my promise is that we will help anybody who has never published to learn about the research publishing process and to build out a poster. And then there's a poster submission deadline and whatnot. So those are the details here. So globalsouthinai.org. So with that, I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to hand it over to Tiago Felipe to continue our discussion and get this ball rolling. Thank you, Tiago, and thank you, Divya.
Thanks so much, Sudha. Thanks so much for sharing these. This is a fantastic news that you are sharing. Congrats for organizing this. Congrats for this initiative. We need more things like this in the academic world. You know, it's very tough for the everyone to publish their ideas, to publish and make their ideas know it worldwide, and this is a great opportunity. I'm going to spread out the news in my network and with my universities that I work, and I'm sure it will be fantastic. But today, as you already mentioned, Sudha, hi to everyone who is currently watching us. Today we are going to continuing our chat, our discussions, our interviewing our finest, fantastic friend from India, Divya. And Divya, as you already know, I believe you all do already know, she's a fantastic lawyer from India, and she also have a background in technologies, engineerings, and she's also holds an MBA in technologies, and everything is quite interesting because we are connecting, as Sudha mentioned, those two apparently different worlds, and law, social sciences applied, and engineering, mathematicians, and all non properly social sciences. And it's amazing, and Jiva do these very, very well, and I'm so very proud to be her friend, my dear. And as you can remember, last week we we ended abruptly because the time was short, and we did not ended our interviewing. We were discussing at that point some connections, if I recall correctly, Diva. We are discussing some connections between law and other sciences. But as I'd like to hear a little bit from you, Diva, first, and then we will proceed this interview, this chat, this conversation that we are having here. I'd like to hear you first from an initial salute to everyone, my friend, please.
Thank you, okay. And welcome back to listen to us. Thank you, Diego, for the intro again. But then, yeah, we ended abruptly last week because time was too short. And thank you, Sudha, for again inviting me. It's a honor kind for me. So thank you. Uh, yeah, we were talking about the connect between social sciences and technology and how AI is affecting. And in everything in a whole of this world, how is law taking care of the whole process? So when we start talking about social sciences, usually it's what comes to our mind is how social work works. How does a social scientist contribute to the society? How is it that data is affecting our society? Why are we so worried about everything related to data? And why are we so much worried about AI being introduced in our lives uh, when we do not understand the technology? So I will try and connect from both the perspectives, where I, being a lawyer, do not know the technology. I, being a technologist, do not know the law. What happens when we are in that particular zone? And what do we think when we are fulfilling our duties? As a technologist, we feel that when we are trying to construct a software or construct a technology for that matter, why do we need so many rules and regulations to stop us from doing that? But from my perspective, I feel that law is something which gives us a straightforward understanding of how society works. How does morality work? How does ethics work? How does governance work? How is that public policy taking care of any technology? You just cannot construct a technology which is uh, going to affect human lives, going to affect any living being, going to disturb the ecosystem which we are living in. We already are facing a lot of environmental issues. Similar is with the technological developments. More we are technologically developed, we try and develop ourselves even further, because that's the greed which we are born with. That's kind of a sin which we live with. As a human, we cannot stop on one point. We have to try and go to the next point. So that infrastructure is also affecting. People say that, especially I have heard my friends saying that, how is it that you are blaming technology is affecting environment, or technology is affecting humanity? It is affecting, because more we are getting technologically sound, we are trying to prompt more infrastructure around it. None of the IT companies or none of the tech giants I have seen on a smaller places, probably in rural area, living under the hut. No, they are not. They are not in the natural atmosphere. They try and create it. When we think about it, it's actually destroying the environment. Now, coming back to the perspective of a lawyer, where he or she thinks that they do not know the technology, we are trying to pave a way where there is no code AI also, or low code AI, which Sudha has been talking about. So we have to understand that it is not mandatory for you to understand all the technological enhancements, but you have to understand how technology per se has to be regulated to make sure that humanity is saved, the
Yes.
morality in ourselves is saved, or for that matter, ethical aspects of our lives are saved. So that is why my point is always there, that are we ethical enough to question AI? Are we actually moral enough to enhance AI in that field, or technology in the way we want it to be? So I feel that that is what the connect is. And once we find that particular connect point, it will be easier for us to understand further, as in how
Uh,
to make it more human.
You are completely correct, Diva, because it's kind of there is something I'd like to share a particular moment with you, Divya, because when I was graduated in 2008 or so, I have this now I see as a wrong idea, a wrong direction, that law can resolve, establish everything by law and through law. The law must be obliged to everyone, and who makes the law must be respected so, and the law must be respected so, and everything goes around and moves around and get filled by the law. This was not quite naive from my side at that time, Divya, because if when you make the law, you make it disconnected with the proper reality. When you make the law disconnected from the society, when you make the law disconnected with economy, when it makes the law disconnected from ethics, technologies, and every area, every aspect around it, you will not make an adequate law. You will not make a feasible law. You don't get the results that you are expecting. This is a very, very important point. At least here in Brazil, I can share this particularities here in Brazil. We have lots of law here. It's a bureaucratic system. It's a little kind of different from the US system. Civil law is different from Gish, forgot the name now, and the US system of law, currently used on US and UK, but all this necessity, all this law enforcement must be produced by the people who know that what they are talking about. There must not be a law disconnected with this reality. And in this spirit, Divya, I have my fifth, I guess, fifth book published last year. And this particular book, Divya, talks about precisely this that you mentioned, the necessity of the law, talks with some other sciences. And in this book, I propose a discussion between law, economics, and environmental and philosophical aspects of the sciences to produce a better law, to produce a viable law, to produce a law that can be enforced and by the general population. And this book was named in Portuguese, naturally, Teoria Pós-Positivista dos Direitos Fundamentais, which goes in English as Post-Positivism Theory of Fundamental Rights, dialectical approach between law, economics, environmental protection, and philosophy. This is some book that I'm very proud of my own. And in this sense, Eva, let me ask you, my friend.
Wait, sorry,
yes,
Tiago, will you be able to share the book?
Oh, thank you, Sura. Thanks so much,
and congratulations.
Oh, thank you. This book is the first solo book that I published last year. I'm gonna share my screen right now. Let me see. Sharing. Okay, I'm sharing my screen now.
Yes.
It's available on Amazon. It's in Portuguese, naturally. I was talking this with Diva. Unfortunately, this first book, Teoria Pós-Positivista dos Direitos Fundamentais, Post-Positivism Theory of Fundamental Rights, is just in Portuguese. But the second book that I'm publishing this very week, that I'm sharing right now with you, my friends, The Future of the Law, O Futuro do Direito in Portuguese, is the book that was published by a conference that we have here in Brazil last year, and the first semester last year, by our, I'm gonna interrupt my sharing, by discussions on my post-doctorate stage that we have with Professor Angelo Vianesi Ferrari de la Universidade Mediterrânea de Reggio Calabria, la Universidad the university in which I had my post doctorate. And thanks so much, Sura, for this opportunity for sharing this. Then I will have more details. Yeah. I will share the link with you guys just right now. But let me ask you, Divya, please, is there a cascading effect of any law being enforced without economics, demographics, and cultural impact analysis being done? This is quite connected with everything that we are discussing right now. Can the law stand alone, be alone, solo on the world, or there is a need of a dialectical approach between all those sciences? Diva.
Wow. First of all, congratulations, Diego, on your books. It's amazing. Actually, I wish I could read them, but then I'll have to learn Portuguese first. So, congrats on that. Let me take you from the first question, which you started with, is about how AI is making its entry, especially in law. I would say why I'm saying that is because everywhere I've heard from most of the lawyers is law has to catch up with whatever future technologies come in any nationality, in any jurisdiction. So that catching up, if that is done, then we are in the perfect position of regulating any technology. Not only technology, even regulating humanity. But then only problem is that law does not catch up in that fast manner as technology. So what does happen with technology? Technology grows exponentially in every decade. But with law, it is not the same. We are still living in the times where our laws are from 1860s. They are being followed to the letter. So that is where we need to understand. I do accept that those laws definitely make sense till now, but still there are certain things which cannot be taken care from the same kind of laws which were like 100 years ago. No, we have to understand technology has to be inculcated in law, and that law should be made by the people who understand both the concepts, be it technology, be it law. So that being said, yeah, definitely when we talk in terms of jurisdictions and the comparison of technology advent which is happening and which has already happened in past as well, when we see the comparison between countries, many countries, I would say mostly, they are following the European Union Act, which is too much inclined towards human aspect of AI, making it more trustworthy, trying to make it more responsible, trying to make it more human centric, trying to get the interaction or intersection in between humans and technology. So that is where we are trying to put in our focus right now. What problem arises with that, if we keep focus on one thing, there is a possibility we'll miss the other part, where we have to understand that why they are talking about responsibility or AI being trustworthy. How does anything become trustworthy? How do you as a human become trustworthy for another human? How do I become trustworthy? It is with time. It cannot happen overnight. You just cannot program me or yourself to become trustworthy day in a day or in a night. No, it's not possible. So we have to give certain amount of time to the technology as well when we are talking about having it being trustworthy, having it being responsible, having it being audited, because now even questions are getting arisen that who will be auditing the AI audits? Who will be auditing the audits itself? Who will be auditing the auditors? Because audit was something which was giving trust to humans. It was giving trust in our mind that if something is being audited, it will become clear, it will be safer. We'll have a clean picture or clear slate about any company or about any program which is going on. So what has happened with certain countries, especially the developing one, in order to catch up with the developed world, we have tried to catch up in terms of law as well. But when we try and understand European Union Act about AI, they are absolutely developed country, and they are the ones who have actually given base to law to almost all the countries in the world. So how do you think that we will be able to catch up to that immediately? They are also experimenting, so we have to wait for certain amount of time when they can find a solution or find a final effect. Like last week we were talking about regulatory sandboxes for AI. That is how they are trying to develop a solution where they will find an end entity which can be implemented to make sure that AI is regulated in a manner that it is ethical, that it is trustworthy, and it is responsible. So that's what I also feel, that we should give time. As we give time to our friendship while we are choosing friends and humans, we have to choose and give some time to AI as well to become our friends. I would say not only AI, I would say all kind of technologies. It's not only AI which we should talk about, but then yeah, they will take time to make it ethical. Everybody will take time to make it ethical. So that's what my standpoint is.
Yes, Diva, you are correct. It's something I'm so sorry. Just 1 second. So sorry for this. I was thinking, when we are discussing, you are talking and we are discussing this particular topic, Diva. When, for instance, gunpowder was invented in China, there were some very nice applications of it, and it could be used in a very trustworthy way, as you mentioned, and also it can be used in more deadly, unfortunately, ways. That's a reality, and I guess the very same principle can be applied to what we are facing right now on artificial intelligence field, and every technological field in general. You are correct. It must be the humanity must adapt to this particular tool, and AI, we must face it, AI is just one tool, a tool for humanity, and we hope this tool can be used for very nice reasons. And let me take this path, Diva, with you. You mentioned, I guess you are completely correct on this, those ideas that you share here with us. Let me take this path for a little. I'd like to hear from you first. First point, first topic. Uh, uh, is there any way, is there any how to protect this new tool, this AI tool, from bad actors, from the humanity? I mean, is there a way to prevent this gunpowder recently discovered by humanity? It's properly applied and used on the very progress of the humanity, or you believe is another, once again, naive Tiago way of thinking? What you can share with us,
Not
Divya?
at all naive. A person who's doing so many PhDs can't be naive. So, yeah, bad actors. And humans, bad actors. Some of us may say that I'm good for you, maybe I'm bad for someone else. So, bad actors are always in place. So, in the same way, if we think about AI as a technology or as a tool, as you rightly said, yeah, definitely there are some security issues, primary, which we are just scratching the surface by talking about data. The basic issue which arises immediately is first privacy, and then the security of that particular data and the usage of that data. Next question arises as in who's benefiting from that particular data or that development of the tool especially AI, who is going to benefit? They will become the good or the bad actor for the whole concept of AI, whole tool for that matter. Because if we see that bad actors or good actors are in picture, we have to realize that there is a very fine line in between both the aspects. One may be good for one person, but for another person it may be wrong. So given that fact, I would like to highlight some topics related to security. What we When we start talking about security, especially cyber security, we become very, very technical. We think that if we do not have a technical understanding about cyber security, we will not be successful in that particular field. But me as a person, I am not a very good technology person. I would say I have studied, I have learned, but then I am not a techie. I won't be able to say that, but still I believe that I know cybersecurity better, because when we are applying cybersecurity in social sciences, when we are implementing it in psychology, how that psychology is being affected when we are using net or internet or Facebook or any other platform, how is that affecting our brain chemistry is the basic question which arises. So again, it is the humans against technology? No, it is humans against our own brains. We as people, how much refrain can we implement on ourselves while using any social media, while even using any kind of TV or Netflix, or for that matter Prime. I also watch movies. It's not like I'm not a movie watcher, but all of this is affecting. How is it affecting? People will say, how is it that any of the websites where we click, or we even think Google thinks like us? No, it does not. They just predict, as in if you have tried to find this, next step will be you try and find something else related to the same thing. Like if I've searched for a particular pen, next thing it will show is a notebook, then it will show some book. And it will happen till the time we are feeding unlimited amount of data every day. It is increasing even beyond exponential growth. So that being said, I would say that security will always be in question when there are some actors involved. Government will always try to save their own citizens first. They will try and save the data of their own citizens. That's why in India we are talking about data localization, so that we can safeguard the whole data transaction which is happening, and that is affecting the whole market. Now, how it is affecting the market? It is affecting the whole marketing strategy itself. If a whole group of, say, like me as a millennial, I do not believe in buying a house. I believe in buying maybe peripherals which can be used and thrown. I don't want to have a lot of things which will affect me when I want to move. So that, how is that affecting? That is my thought process. But before me, the previous generation, they want to accumulate a lot of wealth. They want land, they want money, they want gold, this, that, everything. But not with us. It's a different thought process altogether. How is that affected? Because we feel that we are being confined, so we are trying to confine AI in the similar manner. I think, I feel, and I try and understand AI's pain. I would say, though we are not giving any rights, can AI suffer in that manner? Can technology suffer? I think it can. If we restrict it too much, it will suffer. There is a possibility that if over restriction is done, it will suffer. It'll end then and there. So I hope I have answered what you asked.
Yes, my friend, it's quite amazing. You are here sharing your ideas, and I'm here trying to get everything connected and seeing how it goes. It's quite complex, you know. There is a struggle between intervening and not intervening. I'm talking about law. I'm talking about creating law and enforcement on this particular matters in particular fields. And I'm thinking there is very, very much difficult way to impose law from the state to the society, because if you push too much, you struggle and suffocate the society from creating, from sharing their ideas and advancing on these. And but if you do not create law enough, there is also a problem. There is some, unfortunately, diversions and some problems that will be issued due to the lack of the law regulating that particular matters. And it's a quite difficult way of thinking, not too much and not enough. And those both worlds, those both ways are very difficult, task for the government to do. There is a concept from Winnicott. He's a psychologist from naturally he's a scientist, but a psychologist from Canada, if I'm not wrong. And he shared with the world the concept of the sufficiently good mother. I guess that's the translation for the English. I'm not quite sure because I read something from him, from his in Portuguese. Yes, yes. And well, let me once again take this path that you shared, Divya. Those bad actors you mentioned, my friend. Well, I guess everyone around our circle probably saw the social dilemma, a fantastic documentary that explores some very evil aspects or potential aspect that AI can be used. I'd like to take this path in particular, Divya, because when we are trying to go go right with the artificial intelligence, all the algorithms from social media not always can work in our favor, or can work to the progress of the mankind. Even that is not a voluntary agenda from these companies and this artificial intelligence to turn apart the society and polarize the society and everything else. So my question, Jivia, for you is, who actually is going to benefit from AI? I mean all AI. I mean the good aspect of AI, and if you can share a bad aspect from AI, who would benefit from it? Uh, these AI tools, these AI new technologies that are emerging will change or already changed the power and the control game across the countries, across the world. What do you think on these, Diva?
Wow. You'll get me into trouble, but then I would say humans are the ones who will be benefiting.
You
and
are in trouble.
humans-
That's not my problem, because I'm just asking the questions. You please share your brilliant thoughts, my friend.
So, I would say it's humans who will be benefiting and who will be losing as well. It'll be the society at large. I won't say that it'll be some individual or some individual entity, but then how humans will benefit from it is if they can implement such tools for societal good. I will say to enhance the education level. I would say to enhance the knowledge level. Education is not supposed to be only in classrooms or in writing. It can be through skill development as well. But that skill development can also be done through several tools. I can give you n number of examples where people have actually developed a lot of videos that kind of videos which help a person develop a skill online. So that also will fetch a person some kind of knowledge. Knowledge has to be understood in a very wider sense. We have to understand that knowledge will give you skills, as well as knowledge will give you degrees, knowledge will give you upper hand in wherever you are existing. Like if I'm sitting at a place, I'll give an example. If a person knows how to put in a circuit, and they can check it online that it is the right way to put a positive in a positive and negative in a negative. So that is how AI is affecting, and not AI, it's mostly technology. I would say videos and other online channels which are giving you classes. Negative impact is that if a person or a whole generation is moving towards something which is not to do even with enhancement of skills or enhancement of their knowledge or education, I would say. In all those matters, one has to understand how is it that it is going to affect the society. It is doing a whole social engineering concept. It is affecting at a very large scale. So if you take a group, I will give you an example of, say, 10 people are in one room and 10 people are in one room, and they are supposed to live together for next, say, 1 week or a couple of weeks. And one is given full access to a lot of knowledge which will give them skill development, say maybe constructing something out of wood or some other art. And other one is being given full access to internet, but then they end up watching a lot of movies and a lot of different variety of TV series, but then they don't do anything else. So once that group comes out, one will have some skill with them who can fetch some money out of it, but other party will not, because just by watching movies you will not understand how you make the movies, because movie making is also a very big industry. So that is something which I understand when we are talking about technology per se. So that being said, I want to move to Sudha's question, where she has asked,
yes,
that isn't AI EU Act creating restrictions on AI application that create risk to society, because AI was created with no restrictions and is not inclusive and hurt people in some applications like facial recognition or emotions AI. I would say when we are talking about facial recognition or emotions AI, unless it is going to affect your national security, I don't think government will be infringing your privacy rights. That's my understanding. I'm not saying that it has to be everybody else's understanding. But when facial recognition or these kind of AI are affecting anybody's rights right away, that is the infringement. When we are talking about this right, I would say it is privacy right. It is my personal right whether I want to get recognized by my face through an AI at any place. But then when it is a question of security, especially national security or maybe airport security, I would say any kind of security in the offices, you have to go through that particular process in order to make sure that that specific environment is safe for not only you, for whosoever is working in that environment itself. So for me, we have to first explain in law what facial recognition, what kind of effect is it going to make, how is it going to be used, because now even you is talking about child rights in that particular field itself, in cyberspaces, how child rights are being violated. So they are talking about that. If facial recognition is done for children, how will it affect them in future at later stage? How is that recognition going to be biased or not biased? That will come a little later, because right now everyone's eyes are on trying to make nation secure rather than making one person secure. That's what I would say. And then she has asked, is it all
just
humans?
yes, precisely this that you already mentioned. The next question of Sura is fantastic question. Is quite connected with this last part of your answer.
Yeah.
The question that you was reading right now is, all humans or corporations will be affected by any kind of AI and law. What do you think on these? You already mentioned this on your last part of your
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Like I said, it's not everyone going to be affected in the similar manner. There are so many people who are not even bothered about their privacy rights. So if you let alone privacy rights, I'm talking about simple rights itself. They don't even know how to implement it, and they don't even know how to question about it, whether their rights are infringed or not. Unless you know about all your rights, you are born with certain rights, but you have to know those rights to question even. There are so many times when it is said that in US all the kids know their rights. Yes, because they are taught in that manner. They are made aware since day one that you are going out, you have these rights. But here we are such a big population in India that I would say not everyone is aware of their own rights. So they don't even question. They're like, okay, it's my personal life, it's okay, it's online, it doesn't matter. What will they do with my data? But
Yeah,
what I cannot make people understand is, yeah, it makes a lot of difference when you're providing a lot of data from your life. But
because it's
anyways,
some. Yes, you're correct. Because at some point, everyone will get in touch with any particular AI tool. For instance, when you go on Google and type something for a research or a search at all, you are being affected at some point and somehow by an artificial intelligence tool, an algorithm. When you go on Facebook and you publish something of your interest, you are being affected by an algorithm from Facebook. And you go when you are on the YouTube watching us very right now in this session that we are having here, you are being affected by an algorithm from YouTube, from Google. It's as you mentioned, it's kind of tough for the people understand that it's already on our lives. It's already on our reality. That's the importance of the law being quite connected, as you mentioned, Divya, with the proper application of these technologies. You are absolutely correct, my friend. I totally agree with you. And Sura, this is fantastic. And let me, Divya, ask you. I guess we have time for one more questions. Is that correct? Can I ask you?
yeah, I think
Uh,
we have a couple of minutes.
we have a lot of more time. Just I guess it will be the last questions, but let me try. Yeah, Divya, Sura, once again, ask you, how should we keep the law updated to the modern technology? Because the modern technology arises on the past 15 years or so, and it's, as you are aware, because you studied law, the law came on the very, at least here in Brazil, I don't know about India, but here in Brazil, the law comes on the very slowly pace. It's terrible. Any major law unfortunately here goes on the debate from 20 years, 30 years. You can't imagine these following the pace of the technologies. And when it does, sometimes there is a disconnection of the law proposition with the proper technology. What can you say about this, my friend?
Tiago, if you don't mind, it is Suresh's question, and
Sorry.
he is a technologist, and it is very common to hear from technologists saying, technology is innovating and moving very fast, and law is catching up and is very slow. So, is worded that beautifully, like representing everybody here in Silicon Valley who asks that. And
So
back to you.
sorry for this, Sudha. So sorry for this, Surish, my friend. Thanks so much. It's a very nice question. Jiva, what can you say, my friend?
Thank you.
Oh, wow. This was the same question when I was only an engineer, and I always had this issue that why is law not catching up? So I have faced the same question. But thank you, Suresh, for asking this. I would say that we can only write about it, and we can make our parliamentarians aware as in what technologists need now in laws to be inculcated, because law can only be changed through them. It can only be done if they see that there is a need to change the law itself. There are so many redundant laws which now are not even used. In India, I can tell you, we have law for pretty much everything. Every part you check in the house, in the family, in your life, there is a law, but all of it is not used. That should be scrapped, and then there should be new laws. Government is trying to do the same, but they are also restricted through the larger population, because it is not only us technologists whose rights they have to see. They have to see if they make such kind of laws favoring technology more, will it affect the population at large? And how will it affect the population at large? Because it is not only us. I would say if we belong to maybe 5 to 10% of the population, then there is a 90% population which is not that tech savvy. I may be wrong. It is a possibility that 50% people are tech savvy and 50% are not. But those 50% who are not that tech savvy, how will that tech law affect their lives? Is the first question which any parliamentarian in any jurisdiction will ask, because it is their responsibility to make sure that everyone enjoys the similar rights. But still, I'll come back and answer this in favor of technologies, that we really need laws to catch up as soon as possible, because the way bad actors are behaving in tech field is something which is affecting us for a very long period of time. So that being said, we as people who write about it, who speak about it, have to be very, very vocal and start talking about it more and more and more, so that everyone sitting in the parliament gets to know that there is a need to change. And many of them are very much pro this changes. It's just they feel they are being trying to take care of the whole concept, and they are stopping themselves. Like, I can give you example in context of India. We are now working on cybersecurity laws, data privacy laws, AI laws, but first and foremost is everyone in Indian subcontinent getting affected, and how they are getting affected is the question which government always will ask first, and they will think about any other aspect later. So law, my friend, will definitely be same till the time it is the need of the society. So we have to make that need shown and seen by them.
Yes, a little delay is not a problem at all. The problem is when the delay is very much a thing that will not make the correctly development of the state of art technology on artificial intelligence and all technologies at all. I'm gonna just drop a little something on the theory of law that we have here in Brazil. There is a particular axiological, there's a particular theory of analytical theory of law here in Brazil that explains that the process of lawmaking is it's divided in 3 steps. The first step is the happening, the fact. The second step is the axiological value over the fact, and so we have the third step, the law, the norm per se. It's not feasible, it's not okay to get these steps in a wrong direction or any struggle direction. There must be a fact, there must be an axiological value for the society on this particular fact, and so with this value we can produce a good law for the society. This is very interesting way of thinking the law process.
I would like to add just one point, Thigo. I'm really sorry, I'm cutting you short. When Suresh asked this question, most of the commercial transactions are affected by contract law all over the world. That is one of the oldest laws we follow. It is 1872 law, but it is absolutely accurate even today. We just need to tweak it according to the technology. But I think it's similar all over the places. If we are drafting contracts, it will be on the similar pedestal everywhere. So that's where our question should be. Is it same? It is okay to follow that and add something, or just change it and find something new. So that's the thing. Yeah.
So what process is happening? Sorry, Divya. So what process is happening right now to change change the contractual law?
Did you get this,
Me,
Divya?
no, I couldn't hear. I'm sorry.
It was a little, yes, noisy.
You mentioned contract law. You mentioned contract. I think that's what Suresh was asking clarification.
Yeah, so what I was asking is what process is in place right now to update the contract law? Or is anybody looking at it right now? Or they are not even paying time and attention to this particular change?
So you are talking in terms of US or India. I can tell you about India that we are definitely looking at it. In India, government is working towards making it more consumer friendly as well as corporate friendly, because we have not only contract law, we have sales and good laws as well, and then there are certain other attached laws with it, and corporate law takes care of everything above and beyond this. So in terms of that, even in US, contract law is same because the ideologies will be same, and the case laws which we refer are almost same, and kind of cases that have happened in past is something which we refer to when we are trying to talk in legal terms. So contract law, I don't think that it will be changing anytime sooner, but additions are always being done. They definitely keep on doing the amendments time and again as per the requirement. That's what I can tell you about law right now related to contract.
Okay, thank you, Divya.
Fantastic, my friend. I don't know if you have much more time from these, and I saw some interesting connections that Susanna shared with us here. But Sudha, how is our time right now, my friend?
This is amazing. We are doing part 2, and you're like, opening up a discussion. I still feel like we have not, we've barely scratched the surface. You know,
Yeah.
I think we
Very
can go
deep.
for 10. We can go for 10 more minutes if you want to, finish up this discussion and answer the questions that's here from the
Okay.
people. Yep.
I'm going to share
Thank you.
this, Divya, and please feel freely share your ideas. Susanna mentioned that there are postal laws used to regulate email in US. If you see someone adding their business address to their email, it's because that initiative as a protection provided by the snail mail by the snail mail laws. Laws are there to provide humans, and yes, they are slow and in learning how AI is impacting humans. I guess, Divya, we reach this at some point. Law must be a step back from the happening of the mankind, don't you think?
Wow, I can tell you, Susanna, related to India, how email is being regulated. In India, it is through Information Technology Act. In US, it's through postal laws, as you have told me. But I'm pretty sure that when you are writing an email and you are writing your address and name, definitely there will be an obligation of contract law as well. So I'm more inclined, more into contracts, so I know more about that. I can explain to you that. But how is AI going to affect us? AI is now being used for smart contracts, especially, and that involves even your emails or any kind of exchange for that matter. In India, even WhatsApp is being regulated by Information Technology Act, similarly through Contract Act, because that is also considered as a contract if you have said yes or no on WhatsApp itself. So all of these things are ruled and regulated by different kind of laws in different jurisdictions. Even US, they have very strict laws trying to make sure that technology is being introduced in the law itself, but they also refrain from making such laws which will affect the society at large, because it's not necessary that AI only will be biased. It's biased because humans have made it so. So we already know our bias issues. Like there was this letter where I was reading that there are 150 kind of biases. There is a possibility that if you meet 1,000 people, you will find 1,000 different kind of biases. It's just that we have put in a list of 150 biases. In similar manner, when we are making laws, there is a possibility that this particular law was being made for certain number of people or certain class of people, I would say. Here we have different kind of laws for even the transactions itself, and even in corporate law there are different kind of transactions which are being governed by certain different laws. So in the same manner, but then where you are asking that laws are there to provide humans, and yes, they are slow in learning how AI is impacting humans. It is humans who have made AI, so we are the ones who are delayed, not laws, because laws are something which came way later, where we already had our societal laws, unwritten laws which were being followed even in ancient times, because each tribe, it was tribes which used to live, so all tribes had different kind of laws for their own tribes, that this tribe will not encroach the other tribe. So that was unwritten law. There is no proof of laws being written at that particular point of time, maybe 500 years ago or 1000 years ago. So we are living in 2022, so at least 2000 years ago humans were there, but have we found any evidence where laws were written at that time? Like when I was reading about this aspect, whether AI, the impact of AI, are humans seeing it? Are we actually seeing our own impact? That's why I keep on asking, are we really ethical enough to question anyone else? I don't find myself that much that I can question another human being, let alone AI. AI is something which we have manifested around us to make sure that it is helping us. We made it, humans made it to make sure that it helps humans per se, not become our enemy. So right now, why are we being so scared? Because as humans we know that we have a tendency of being very negative, and there is a tendency of us being very violent as well at times. So there may be a situation where AI will be developed in the same manner, where it will become very negative or very violent or very vague, as well as Sudha earlier said in one of her statements, that there were no restrictions when AI was being developed. So all of a sudden, if we are trying to make AI being very regulated, it won't be that much possible immediately. It will take some time. So trying to find who is responsible for that particular behavior of AI, we cannot blame anyone. It's all of us together in this, because all of us are the ones who are providing data to it. Because I understand that AI is not only putting in data and getting, like it is said, garbage in, garbage out. No, it's not that. But still, it is the base which gives AI some knowledge about humanity. And if we are not writing about it, AI is not reading about it. So I think as humans, we are lagging somewhere. It's not only the laws. So if we lag in developing AI, similarly, we can think that laws may be lagging. It's the human flaw, I would say. I won't blame AI for that matter, because AI is no one to blame. It's our own creation.
Not even a son,
Yeah.
as are mentioned, kind of a tool, perhaps. I don't know. You are correct. Suresh, you would ask you something?
Yeah. So one thing that I picked up from what you're saying is the AI is not ethical, right? I mean, I agree with you. And also, when these laws are created, right, when they were created long time ago, not everybody, I don't know how ethical was everybody, or any, there is no gauge for that, right? So what I'm trying to promote or bring to the forefront is at some point of time, there has to be a body of organization, actively moving forward to say, here are the top priority of laws that needs to be overwritten, or there needs to be an organization that is driving this very actively. Otherwise, we are living in a law year of 1862 or something that you were saying, and that's definitely very old. And I came across an article which says who is behind the AI which is monitoring the kids, right? So which means that the law that is going out, is created in 1970. I mean, the world was very different, and now the world is extremely different, right? So what I'm trying to, it's not only in India, but I think some body of organization needs to come to the forefront and say, champion that, here, any laws that is greater than, let's say, 50 years, need to be taken into consideration for active review and improvement is what I'm trying to, suggest.
Let me just put something else here, adding to Suresh Diva. Here in Brazil, there is a quite a sense of interpretation of the law, interpretation of the normatives, and as I could understand a little bit from Constitution of India. There is a same sense of the values, the past values, the religious values that the Constitution of India brings on the interpretation of the norm, interpretation of the law. I guess it's pretty much the same connected with the Suresh just mentioned, just asked. There are old laws, naturally, but there is a need for more modern interpretations on the day-to-day, on nowadays cases and suits and problems that are issuing right now. I guess what I'm trying to tell you, my friends, all is law is alive. And despite the fact that the law is old, the interpretation of the norm can be a little more fresh, a little more new, because the one who will interpret it, the norm, will get evolved with all those values, all those axiological values that we are mentioned just right now. What are you thinking about this, Divya?
I didn't want to talk about interpretation of law because then it will become a law class. But yeah, we interpret the law, and that's why, Suresh, it's even if it is written in 1872, we interpret it in today's terms and try and understand what the lawmakers have tried to make. Like our constitution is 1950. It's that old. And we try still to understand what was in their minds while they were drafting the constitution for India. There must be something which was very forward thinking, futuristic. So with that being said, it's not always the law which is old. It is about our thought process as well, as in how we interpret any situation is something which takes us places. It's all about understanding that, and that is what law makes us do. Even if it is 100 years old, still it will give you something out of it. So when we are like, because technology becomes redundant after some time, but law doesn't. Why is it? Is because we have adapted to it and we have tried to understand what they may have been thinking if they were making the law right now. Yes, I definitely agree that law should be abreast with this, because there are so many new spaces which are being created because of the development of technology so much that we are unable to control that effect, that we have to see, because there was no explanation as in how to take care of metaverse is nowhere used in any law, but then it is a reality right now. So how are you going to regulate it? For that, Suresh, there are so many international organizations which keep on talking about it, and there is a field of law called international law, which makes sure that all the jurisdictions, all the states involved in the particular assignment or particular situation or a law, they have to follow, because there are signatories who have to follow it, like we do in environment law, like we do similarly with gender justice, like we currently we have SDG goals. So all those goals, they are being developed by international law committees and societies, and all of the countries, they come together and try and contribute to it. It's not that easy to follow all the international law instructions because they are soft laws, but most of the countries try to inculcate it in their laws. Like India has taken a lot of things, like child labor was being taken care of in India, and because we are signatories. So in similar context, we have domestic violence act, because not only because it was a need, but it was given by international law as well. They try and take care of gender there. So that being said, that field of law is so vast. Yeah, definitely we still haven't scratched the surface, I think. But then I have tried to keep a balance between technology and law. I may not be that much inclined towards tech right now, but then I try and explain in the easiest terms possible. Because if I start interpreting law, then it will become tougher for anybody to
Everyone is going to
Yeah.
sleep. I know the feeling, my friend. I guess it's the same. Sura, I guess we have no more time. We advanced so much in our hour, and I guess the floor is yours again, my friend. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody. Yes, we need to wrap up now, and maybe, you know, we'll internalize and look at some of the resources and come back, and maybe we'll bring you back as a record as a third time. But we need to, you know, at least we need to wrap up for today, and we will go back. At least I'm tempted to go look at the sandbox you mentioned that Spain has launched, and this is very good discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you, Divya.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tiago.
Thank you, Divya.
Thank
Thank you, Diego.
Thank you, my friends.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Sudha.
having us here.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.